Hello beautiful, welcome back to Nat's Beautiful Life and day 11 of the 12 days of Christmas. So for today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 11 books that really moved me this year. And by that, I mean that they gave me all the feels. So they may have made me feel like warm and fuzzy inside. They may have made me a little angry. They may have inspired me in some way. They may have made me feel thankful. But these are books that just kind of generated a little bit more emotion with me this year than some of the other books that I read. So let's just go ahead and get into this video so it won't be a million years long. But the first one I wanted to talk to you about is, let me see, I'm just looking at my list here. I have some and then others I've talked about before, so I kind of want to do the ones that I haven't talked about. The first one's going to be a little graphic novel that is really, really cute. It's called Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too by Jomney's son. And this is a very basic kind of graphic novel, and it's basically an alien that gets dropped off to Earth and he is told to learn about humans. And in doing so, he actually winds up meeting like plants and animals and at the end he finds out that they're not humans, but it's just a very sweet story and very down to the basics of what humanity and being kind is, and it was just precious. So I did really like this, so I highly recommend it. Another one is This Is Me Loving the Person You Are Today by Chrissy Metz. This is a nonfiction. This is by obviously Chrissy Metz, and she is one of the characters on This Is Us, I think. And then she's got a new movie coming out as well, but it's basically her memoir and her life in Hollywood as a plus-size actress, but also it goes back to just things within her childhood growing up and just struggles she had to overcome that didn't really have anything to do with her weight. They were just, you know, family struggles and her father and all of that. And I was just very inspired by it. I loved hearing about this from being someone who's not a size 2 myself. I like hearing people who have had to kind of be out in this business that's like, I'm in the beauty business, and then she's like in, you know, film and television and things like that, and not being like the status quo body, and just how she feels about that and how she combats that. And so it was really good, and also just her overcoming some of the things that she dealt with and stuff like that. There was some interesting family dynamics there with her that she had to work through. So once again, it's like a kind of a rags to riches story, and I really enjoyed that. This one here, Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate. I highly recommend this book. I was thinking about it. The actual like historical fiction portion of it is what sticks out in my mind the most, but it does go back from like present day to the past, as this like great granddaughter or granddaughter is trying to figure out some things that she's learned about her grandmother. And what really got me is, number one, the story is about some children who were stolen from their families, were taken to an orphanage and basically presented to people with money as orphans, even though they were not. They were stolen and sold to the highest bidder. And so because this family had a lot of like blonde, curly haired like little girls and stuff in it, they were very highly sought after. But what really gets you is when you realize that the woman in question and the villain in question and the home, the orphanage, actually existed, and she based this on real characters and on stories she heard from people who were actually involved in this, and she put this, you know, this book together. It really makes you angry, and also just it's just it makes you feel. It makes you feel. So that one, really love that one. Another one is Dumplin by Julie Murphy. I did the audiobook for this, and I didn't realize that they were going to do a movie out of it, which there's a movie on Netflix now, which I haven't had the opportunity to sit down and watch yet, but I'm really looking forward to it because I loved this book. Once again, this is, and I can't say that I was like a super plus-sized teenager, but I was a very athletic teenager, and I was not like if I had been a teenager after the whole like J-Lo booty thing came out, then that would have been great. But at the time that I was younger, it was like you had to be stick thin, and I just didn't have that body. So in that sense, I kind of got it. But I mean, this is a very plus size girl, and she has a very thin beauty queen mom, and she has an aunt who she really loved, who was very overweight, like couldn't leave the house, overweight, and she did something. She wanted to join this beauty pageant in honor of her aunt who never could, or didn't have the courage, you know, like was too scared. I wouldn't say didn't have the courage, but was just too scared to do it. And so it's really adorable story, and I really understood this whole dynamic and everything. So it was really good book, and it really will make you feel, and you were rooting for Dumplin and all her misfits, because it's not just, you know, the plus size girls that join and run in the beauty pageant. It's also the really athletic girls who maybe aren't super duper like beautiful, but you know, they have their own ways about them and things like that. So they all joined, and it was it's just a really very like gives you the feels book. So even if you've watched the movie, I recommend you read the book, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot more going to be in the book than the movie, because that's just the way it works. So anyway, the next one is How to Walk Away by Catherine Center. This book blew me away, and I believe I talked about it in one of my wrap-ups recently, because this was a girl who lived like the perfect life, and then she got in an accident and became paralyzed, and then she had to create a new life. So not only did she have to learn how to move around and to get around again, she never walked again, but she had to learn how to live this new life and how to love someone else again, and just do all these things. So she had to really look and evaluate the old life she had, and just see like it really wasn't that perfect, and this person that I thought I loved and I thought loved me, it wasn't everything that we thought it was. But now, you know, she could see what was real and what was genuine, and this book is just a book of just rebirth, regrowth, and there is a lot, and I do mean a lot, of feels for different things going on within this book. And yeah, I cannot recommend this enough. And it is kind of like that chick lit kind of stuff, but it's not like Hallmark movie chick lit. I feel like it's a little bit deeper than that, and I really did enjoy it. So totally get that one. The next one is The Radium Girls by Kate Moore. This is a nonfiction true story of the gals who used to paint the clock faces, the watch faces for the U.S. government, for the military, and I'm guessing World War II, I think. Can't really remember off the top of my head. That's terrible. But of course the paint is made out of radium, and they told them it was safe, and they would put the paintbrushes in their mouths to make them like pointy to be able to get in the clock faces, and they were chewing or ingesting radium, and they even were like painting it all over themselves because they were told it was perfectly safe. And they glowed when they would go in the dark, and it was really like a party trick for them. And turns out they were getting cancer, and so they were losing jaws and teeth and dying. And it's not only about that, it's just about the struggle that they went through once they realized they had been lied to, and the company knew about it, and then the things that they have to do. And then because they're women at this time, no one's going to listen to them, and so it's also about the men who stood up and said, you know, these women, you know, they deserve to get taken care of now that they're sick, and their families deserve compensation and things like that, and really went to bat and fought for them. So incredibly, one of the best nonfiction books I've ever read. Definitely The Radium Girls. Let me see if I've mentioned everything that I have. Okay, so I have 2 more here, but I wanted to just go over a couple. So I'm going to go over the ones that I hadn't mentioned before yet. So Eleanor Elephant is completely fine. Gail Honeyman, I have mentioned this so many times this year on my channel. Incredible, incredible story of a lady on the spectrum who has decided to make some changes in her life because she is attracted to a man. But it's not just about that. She encounters another man along the way that it's not like a love story type of thing. She just kind of sees him as, you know, this dude. And they actually become friends, and it's just a really sweet friendship. And then it's also learning about the things that happened to Eleanor, and by the quarter half of this book, you are rooting for Eleanor, and you just want her to be just all the wonderful things that happen to her. And it's just such a good book, and it just really gives you the feels. My grandmother told me to tell you She's Sorry by Fredrick Bachman. This is a story that I've mentioned before. It's a little girl and her grandmother who is super sassy, who tells her these stories, and she thinks they're just like fairy tales. And turns out when the grandmother passes away, not only do these letters show up that the granddaughter is supposed to go in and give these to the people, but she realizes that within the stories that her grandmother had been telling her, that they were actually about real people around her. And so she was learning their stories and learning their backgrounds, and it's a really good book. I have Kindred by Octavia Butler. This one is sort of sci-fi, where it's a lady who lives in like the 70s. She is black, she's married to a white man, and she goes back in time to antebellum South, which is before the Civil War, and is a slave, kind of. She's basically a slave, but she's supposedly like... It's hard to explain. It's explained better in the book. But she's basically a slave, and she's kind of goes back and forth between this time during slavery where she's treated like nothing, and then she goes to modern times, and then just dealing with all of that. And then it's just like the struggles of it makes you so angry that people could treat other humans, no matter what, in this particular way, because it's not just her, it's just her speaking about the way that other slaves and things were treated around her, how the white men, you know, there were some good men in that era, but, you know, the bad men were real bad, because they really, I mean, they treated them worse than they would treat their dogs, and it just made me angry. But this was such a great book, and I've said this before, like when I finished this book, got to the last page, I almost wanted to just start back over. It was such a good read, but so many feels, because it's just, just read the book. I don't want to give too much away, but so good. Another one is Moxie by Jennifer Mathau. This is another one. This is not literary fiction. Like, this is, I mean, it is literary fiction, but it's not like a great piece of literature. It is a YA novel. It's very simply done because it's written for younger people. But the message in it and the reality of it just is something, because it truly shows what it's like to be a young woman and a young girl in our world, and how there's differences between being a young girl and a young man. And even if you're a good man, it's just a lot. It's just a lot. But this is one that I feel like every young girl and every parent should read, so that the parents can get a look-see into how things are. Because I know that, you know, if you're, you know, if the elder generation and you've been to school, you know, you've lived through this, but you forget. You really do. You forget. And times have changed because of technology and things like that, and social media can make it very difficult. But this right here encourages the girls to stand together and to reach out to the people who will listen and will help and do something about it. So very, very, very good message in that book. All right, let's see what else we got. Got Eleanor, Grandmother, Alien, This Is Any Dumplin Before We Hear Kindred, How to Walk Away. Okay, I think that's it. That's 11 books. So these are books that, like I said, really stood out to me as far as like making me feel something. Some of them made me feel angry. Some made me feel empowered. Some made me feel just sad. Some made me feel inspired. And some just, it was just nice to know that there were other people out there. So I highly recommend these books if you want the feels of anything. I mean, these just run the gamut. Really, really great reads. So that's all for my day 11 of the 12 Days of Christmas, the 11 books that moved me this year. And I think, yeah, that's all I got for you today. So I'll see you soon for day 12, the last day of the 12 Days of Christmas. Thank you so much if you've been with me throughout the whole 11 days so far. I appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, click the little bell, and all of that jazz if you haven't already. And I will see you soon right here on Nat's Beautiful Life. Have a great day, gorgeous.